there was Reuters who went down to the Channel Migrants, decided to interview them about their thoughts, let's say, on why they're doing what they're doing, because they could apply in France and they're not. And the interviews are amazing. And I thought we'd go through some of it because I think it's fantastic. Like, they just openly say, yeah, we don't care. So here's the headline here. We have no choice whatsoever. Migrants undeterred by UK threat to send boats back to France. So this is the Home Office saying we're going to start turning them around, send them back to France because, this is a joke. The French are just sending them over because they don't want to deal with them. Yep. And the migrants have absolutely no choice in the matter whatsoever. They just have to. They just have to get on the boat and come to England. Couldn't possibly apply from France, stay in France. Couldn't possibly go to the embassy in France.
So I take it they're applying for asylum?
When they get to Britain.
When they get to Britain.
Before then, not so interested.
But yeah. And I mean, the idea of being an asylum seeker is, a country's got to offer a safe refuge to somebody who's, either been victimized by the government in the country where they are for, say they could be gay or whatever. And they could be, a
dissident.
It could be a political dissident, or there could be famine or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And obviously with the turmoil in Afghanistan, turmoil in Syria, lots of people are coming to Europe. But they could seek refuge in countries that are a bit closer.
Yes, but of course
they want to come to
the raging war in France is making them flee to the UK. I'm sure.
But I mean, have they got reasons for wanting to come to the UK? I'm going to be honest. France has got better food, better weather. I'd stay in France.
Well, we have some reasons from the interviewees. So Mustafa Suleiman, a very French name, 21, is resolute in his determination to reach Britain and won't be deterred from London's threats to intercept boats illegally carrying migrants into the Channel and send them back to France. Suleiman, who fled Sudan's Darfur region in 2019, has tried to make the perilous journey through some of the world's busiest shipping lanes twice last year. Both times he was thwarted by French police before making it off the beach. So before he made it off, both times he was sent back because, no, you can't just break into someone else's country because you feel like it.
Yeah, but I think, if somebody wants to come here that bad, I don't even really want to be here. I'd rather be somewhere else. I'd rather be in Greece right now. You know what I mean? Getting a suntan. If he wants to be here that bad, I think he'll probably make a pretty good citizen. I think we should maybe just make some kick some people out. Just go take a truck down to Weatherspoons, fill it up.
Why is he so uncomfortable in France?
Is there more racism in France? I don't know.
I don't think Suleiman's fleeing French racism.
Well, no, but I mean, I think a lot of people who there's a sort of a blurry line between asylum seeking and economic migration.
Sure, and Suleiman here gives us the example. I mean, he came from Darfur, a region that's been at war for 20 odd years or whatever it is now. Could have stopped in Egypt, where there is no war. No, he then went presumably to Libya, where there is a war, again, for some reason, and then made his way through Europe, where there is no war, to get to France, and then to Calais for Britain. Yeah, okay. So he gives some more quotes. We will try until the last day of our lives, Suleiman told reporters in a camp on a wasteland edge of Calais. Suleiman said that he would be ready to throw himself into the open seas if ever a British patrol ship stood between him and UK shores. So he's going to risk his own life.
Man, this guy's ready to be British. This guy's going to turn up with Union Jack underpants on. I think so. I'm thinking think of the triathlon teams, the Olympic teams we're going to have, the boating and the swimming. If these people get through, it's going to be incredible.
And I'm sure when he arrived in France, he was wearing French stuff, baguette, beret. Anyway, so he continues. Britain is my only solution, he said in faltering English there, and also no choice. He's got no choice whatsoever. He can't possibly apply for asylum in France. Couldn't do that. That would be.
But does he say why Britain is his only solution?
Just is.
Because Britain, for a lot of people, is the problem.
Like Darfur's at war, therefore Britain. That's as simple as it gets.
Does he not follow any woke leftists on Twitter? I mean, apparently Britain is the source of all the world's ills. I don't know. Maybe genuine sort of people from other countries don't see Britain as such a horrific place.
No, but anyway, let's move on, because this reminded me, this interview, of actually a situation before in which there was another chap. So you can see the headline here from The Guardian. Teenager found dead, tried to cross channel in dinghy with shovels for oars. Jeez. And this is horrible, teenager dies in channel. He's desperately trying to make it to Britain because France... No, the story was fake news.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not joking. If we go to the next one, I did like
The Guardian published a story that wasn't true.
Yeah, completely.
Well, I for one, I'm shocked that the highly partisan Guardian, with its ideology and explicit agenda, would publish a fake story.
So we get the next one. We have the Independent, of all people, who actually debunked this. So it turns out that the guy was with another guy, and he drowned, but his friend got out and then just lied to the press and said he was 16, where it turns out he was 28. And yeah,
that's like me on Tinder.
Yeah, so it's a guy who was 28. He come from Sudan, got all the way to Calais, stole a dinghy, stole the oars, and then decided to like paddle his way across to England. And the reason for that is because he applied for asylum in France, and he's not an asylum seeker who's legitimate, so they rejected him.
Right.
So he was like, I'll just go to Britain then.
Yeah.
And I'll get it for free.
Is it easier to claim asylum in Britain than it is in France?
Presumably so. Otherwise, I guess, why would they be doing it? You know?
Right.
I mean, they could also go to Germany and whatnot, and they don't feel much like that either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, complete chancer there. So it reminded me of that. But anyway, let's go back to the interviews because there's some more of this. So 16-year-old Afghan Ali Husseini, I'm like, 16 years old, given the previous example of teenager, I'm not sure I actually trust the ages given in some of these.
Well, yeah, funnily enough, like, sorry to interrupt, but my mate Moses fosters kids, and he took in a refugee kid from Syria, and Moses has got like a 14-year-old daughter and stuff, and so this kid's supposed to be like 14 or 15 or whatever. Like, turns up, he's like a hulking guy with a beard. It's like obviously not 15 or whatever he was supposed to be, so he had to take him back to the whatever it is, the pound, not the what
the asylum pound.
The asylum center.
Yeah,
he had to. Yeah.
I mean,
he couldn't have some guy who's like 24 and with his daughter.
I'm sure you've seen the meme as well. The one who claimed he was 16. He went to a sixth form in school uniform. He was 30. Even the kids were like doing Snapchats of him, being why is there a 30?
It reminds me of Happy Days and like all those things like Beverly Hills 90210, where you have like some 36-year-old actor pretending he's at high school, like the Fonzie, with grey hair coming up the sides, like, hey guys.
But that's actually what's going on in British schools. So 16-year-old, totally 16-year-old Afghani Ali arrived in the northern part of the town on a day earlier after a journey of several weeks from his home province in Uruzgan. I don't know how you say that. So apparently it's in Afghanistan. Husseini said he fled on foot and by car across the Iranian frontier as the Taliban swept across his homeland. His parents had urged him to leave, but could not afford for him to take his two younger siblings. I don't know why we should trust his account of this. I don't think we should, because if the whole family's in danger, why only him was sent? And also, if they don't have enough money, why did he not stop in Iran and then make arrangements for his own family to come with him? But
what you're seeing with a lot of asylum seekers is the sort of wealthiest people who make it over, the most privileged people in those countries. I mean, obviously these things are relative, but the people who can afford to pay the people smugglers, who can afford to.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. It's it's not like a Ryanair flight.
So anyway, he continues, I am trying to find a new country, a new life without war, the teenager said. Britain is my final destination. It is a good country. I can finish my education and be safe. Husseini had already heard tales of dangers crossing in an overloaded inflatable dinghies. Quote, I have no choice. I have to do it, he said. Just has to. No possible other thing he can do. Couldn't stay in France. Couldn't apply for asylum in France. Probably been rejected in France.
Why don't they ask him, like, why Britain? Why is Britain such a... I don't understand why they're coming to Britain. I don't understand why people like Early Man came to Britain in the first place. Because they didn't even have, that was before Gore-Tex and central heating.
So we could stay away from the French. I mean, enough reason as any.
But they weren't French there because everybody just like migrated from Africa.
Bad omens. They're going to turn into the French.
I don't know why they kept going. Just stop at Greece.
Yeah. So they go on to talk about the new rules of trying to push them back and, the turnarounds. And it says, for many migrants, Britain's stance hurts. It's inhumane, said a second Sudanese man who gave his name as Adam A. They want to push us into the water. Nope. We want you to be legitimate, not chancers. That's the thing. And the thing in my mind as well is like, we don't house the native French homeless. I don't know why we should house France's imported homeless. Because that's what these people fundamentally are. If they are not legitimate asylum seekers, they failed in France, so now they want to come to the UK, you're just an imported homeless person.
Do you trust the French asylum system?
It seems to be true when they come to the UK, because if they've been rejected in France, it's like 100% of the time they're rejected in the UK as well.
Oh, right.
Because we talk to them.
Right.
And, hey, who's this? Yeah, he told us some other details.
Yeah.
Completely in contradiction. Clearly a chancer.
What's interesting is Britain's attitude to immigration is it's becoming less of a concern for people. So this is in The Economist this week. So there's an Ipsos Mori poll. So this is tracked it from like 2015. So before Brexit, people were very concerned about immigration. So the share who wanted immigration reduced was 69% in 2015. It's come down to 50% in the most recent poll. And some people think that immigration, quite a lot of people, a non-negligible amount, like 18% want more immigration. So it's not the issue. I think Brexit actually, it's the sort of leftists' open border people's dream, because it made people feel heard. It made people feel that something was being done about it. So it sort of provided that catharsis. And also Brexit, it's opening up immigration to the whole of the world. So previously, there's free movement within Europe, but Europe's mainly white. So this opens up immigration to Pakistan and India,
but with the same standards. The point system of you must make this much money.
Well, there is a point system now, which there wasn't under under the free movement in Europe. You just go and work in a country. The point system, which does need some tweaking. I think we need to do just take the hot ones.
But anyway, this specific story is, of course, not around migration in its total, but asylum seekers.
Yeah.
And even then, the reason I have particular hatred for these people is because you can meet real asylum seekers who have come from, let's say, particularly dictatorial Asian countries, and they need to be here. They can't be elsewhere. You can put them in some other Western country, but you can't put them in an Eastern country because they'll be hunted down.
Right.
And therefore, legitimate. You can hear their stories. They've been through hell to get here, and there's no one who deserves it more. And you get these chancers who are just like, just gives it. And we can look at the statistics as well. So this is the Home Office statistics that I think, and David from Twitter actually alluded me to. So if we go through this, we can go through the graphs. So there's a graph on here about nationality, and you can see the different national groups. So the groups who claim to come here are mostly Iranian, then Albanian, Eritrean, Sudanese, Iraqi, Syrian, Vietnamese, Afghani, Pakistan, and then India. And as you can see, for the acceptance rate for, are we even going to talk to you there for the different groups? None of them bordering Britain, 0. All had to come through some other country to get here that was also safe. And then even then, most of these don't have a war going on. I mean, particularly India being the funniest one, where it's like, literally, really? You want to claim asylum in Britain?
Well, yeah, right. And Albania.
Yeah.
I mean, what's happening in Albania that's like, what are they escaping there? And
Serbs, I guess.
I'm surprised Iraq. I'm surprised the acceptance rate for Iraq is so low and the acceptance rate for Vietnam is so high, because Vietnam's it's a fairly free country.
Yeah, I don't know much about Vietnam's Communist Party, but I imagine there are some problems there, let's say.
Yeah.
So let's move on from that. So they also have a proportion of asylum of main applicants by age and sex graph below this one, in which they have the different groups. So that one there. As you can see, overwhelmingly men. The biggest group being men between 18 and 49, being up to, 81% men as well. The women, the fact that the footage represents reality, as we've always seen with those thingies, it's always men.
Yeah.
The data also says, it's almost always men.
This
and also
is
young men.
This is what worries me. I mean, like importing lots of fighting age men from Syria and Afghanistan. I mean,
what could go wrong?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong with that? What has gone wrong in the past? It's I don't know. I just think if we're going to be truly humanitarian, why are we not bringing women and children who are, in a lot of these countries, if there's oppression, if there's dictatorial regimes, if there's fundamentalist regimes that punish people, it's always women that suffer the most. So why are we not bringing more women over, especially the hot ones? Shamima can come in. She's hot now.
Is she?
She looks like she'd be good at tennis as well. We've got to think about future sporting teams.
She's going to be the new Emma Raducanu or whatever her name was.
That's right.
Anyway, so the most common demographic of asylum applicants are males between the ages of 18 to 29, young men, 44%, and 60% of applicants from Sudanese nationals were males between 18 to 29. 60% of all Sudanese applicants were fighting age men.
Yeah.
What a surprise. So there's also the international comparisons below this one where you can see the different countries, how many they're taking in regards to different groups. And as you can see, the rest of Europe is killing itself. That's their problem. There is no justification for us to kill ourselves. I mean, Germany there being the meme. I mean, the literal meme country.
I mean, you're saying killing yourself. I mean, that's a bit of a sweeping statement because obviously immigration. We've got a shortfall of with
we're
Brexit
not talking about immigration. We're talking about asylum seekers. So
right.
the two different standards. Just to be clear on that.
Yeah, but asylum seeking is a form of immigration.
Yes.
It's a method of immigration.
But the Germany one being the hilarious one, because you remember Mama Merkel saying in 2016, if you come to Germany, we'll accept you. And then the EU even said in that period, was it 50% of those who came had no more right to be in Europe than anyone else on the planet.
Right.
Right. So there was no procedure. There was no way of checking these people, nor did they even have any right to be there.
Yeah.
50%, according to the EU.
Yeah.
Just of the ones who came to Germany. And it's that's why it's a joke.
And that was in response to the Syrian crisis, I take it.
Yes. And then the vast majority weren't Syrian who came.
Right.
Because this whole thing is a massive mess. If you want a recommended book list for anyone watching, I would recommend Douglas Murray's The Strange Death of Europe. So he just went around Europe during this period and then just documented what he saw and what he learned, and it's insane. I mean, the funniest part being that Germany, remember Merkel saying, we'll take everyone. At the same time, she authorized funding for a wall to be built on Greece-Turkey's border. I find that funny.
Yeah.
Just publicly, yes, we will not build a border wall between Austria and Germany. But we'll build one in Greece.
Well, it's like the Biden administration. They criticized Trump for putting children in cages. Then obviously the children are still getting put in cages, but they're called, they call them something else. And also now I don't know if you saw the refugees from Haiti at the border that have come through Mexico being whipped by police, like some you'd see in a third world country. It's shocking.
Let's get to the other statistic in here I found interesting. So at the appeals process, they have who makes it through, who doesn't. So before the appeals process, 56% of those who arrive in Britain are rejected. And even after the appeals process, 41% of those apply are rejected for being fakers, not real.
Yeah.
I mean, a failure rate that high of you're not an asylum seeker. We spoke to the French, you applied there, and then you just came here because you thought you'd get in. Yeah. That's what's taking place. Although the return rate is like 9% of those who fail get returned. Something like that.
Really?
It's really
So
bad.
they can still stay, but just under a different...
I know, we just don't get rid of them. Like, we have no mechanism for kicking them out.
So are they staying in sort of internment camps or what?
No, they just go missing.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. So they effectively just work in the black market.
Yep.
That's not a racial thing, by the way.
Yeah, illegal.
I'm not calling it that because
they just disappear into the system. I mean, this is the point by Douglas Murray in his book, which he mentions. The number one immigration rule you ever want to keep is keep them out of your country, process them elsewhere. If they are true, let them in.
Right.
That's the way to do it.
Right.
Let them in beforehand. You will lose them in the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pitiful.
Yeah.
And it's not just us. Every country in Europe has had this problem as well of returns.
And the numbers are quite substantial. So the Office for National Statistics estimates that the level of immigration is held steady between 2015, even with Brexit and everything, between 2015 to 2019 at 600,000 to 700,000 people per year. So that's a significant chunk of the population. We're talking, I mean, what is that? Like one. I'm terrible with percentages. Is it 1%?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
The other thing being that the asylum seekers are also ones that usually are where ISIS and whatnot send their troops rather than through the legal migration system.
Yeah.
Because they'll get picked up.
Right, yeah.
So that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on from this. Let's go to the someone like that, Shamima Begum case study. And this sort of thing, let's say. See what she's doing, because this is back up in the news, isn't it? So first thing I want to mention, in case people don't know, Shamima Begum is a East End girl who, her and her two friends decided to go to Syria to join the Islamic State, because that's what kids do these days, I'm sure. And she...
Well, I mean, when we'd say she decided, I mean, she was groomed. And what's interesting is the average age...
That's the debate.
The average... I mean, well, there's grooming victims in the UK. There's the victims of the Rotherham gangs, the Oxford gangs, and all those other grooming gangs. What's interesting is my mate works in the police up north, and he said the average age of grooming gang victims is actually older than the average age of the ISIS brides. So they're groomed, and I mean, obviously it's less... I don't know. I just see them as victims as well. And I think it's kind of like Shamima Begum, she doesn't seem that smart to start off with, but to blame her for making terrible decisions when she was 15. I mean, when I was 15, I was smoking banana skins. We all do terrible things when we're 15 because we don't know what we're doing. We're idiots.
All right. I don't think I agree with this case just because of the interviews I've seen with her.
Well, wait till you see what she looks like now. Have you got a picture of her looking hot with a baseball cap on?
Let's go through this in the row. So the first thing to mention is in 2019, she gave an interview about this, and I want to play the first clip where she speaks about her time with ISIS.
But you didn't have any regrets up until that point. What was it about Islamic State that attracted you? What did you like about it?
The way they showed how you can go, they'll take care of you, you can have your own family there, you can do anything.
So that's her with her British accent, as you can tell, the new East End accent, because the Cockneys are all gone, aren't they? But the point there as well, she mentions that she didn't have any regrets up until the end, and she says no. So she, at that point, said that she had no regrets. So if we carry on, there's the allegations against her and the reason the British are keeping them out of the British government. So this is Carl posting on Gab, which is about the fact that there was evidence given to the court that she played a role not as just someone's wife, but instead as a Sharia enforcer. So she enforced Islamic State's Islamic law. So the quote here being, she served in Islamic State's morality police and also tried to recruit younger women to join the jihadist group, well-placed sources have told The Telegraph. She was allowed to carry a Kalashnikov rifle and earned a reputation as a strict enforcer of ISIL's laws, such as the dress code for women, sources claimed.
I'm not surprised she didn't want to leave then. I'd stay. If I got a Kalashnikov and I was like in the police, in the ISIS sheriff. Police, sheriff badge. What are you wearing? Oh my God, dugga. Man, that's like my dream job, just walking around Dumfries.
That's the claim against her, that that evidence was then given to a court, and a court ruled that the evidence on that evidence that she could not return to the UK because, quote, such actions would be a threat to public safety. So if we carry on from this, there are some other opinions on this situation. So if we go to the next one, we have the Mail, which has an ex-Met counterterrorism chief saying that she's a threat and therefore shouldn't be allowed in, which agrees with the judge. But then we go to the next one, we have her arguing that no, we should be allowed back in. And this is the photo you're talking about, presumably.
Hot Shamima.
No,
no,
I don't agree.
That is hot Shamima. Well, you prefer when she's wearing the full-on, like, you know, Star Wars out. I mean, like that. She looks hot here, undeniably, undisputably.
I'm not a fan
of that is a swipe right. That is a hard swipe right.
I think I prefer the burqa, but okay.
You prefer that.
Anyway,
that's how rigidly moral you are. You prefer when she's in the morality police.
Cover up, you whore. Anyway, so this is the new outfit that she's wearing. So Shamima Begum begs the British public for forgiveness. She gave 2 quotes in here for what took place. So she says that the evidence against her, the statements given that she was walking around as an enforcer. She says there's no evidence because nothing ever happened. The only crime I committed was being dumb enough to join the Islamic State.
And then tell everybody all about it and admit to it and say she loved it.
There's also the comedic line she gave a while back that I couldn't find, but I remember her giving it, which is, my only crime is joining Islamic State. And that'll be it. Anyway, that's amazing. So we move on from this. So the UK government.
I forgive you, though, Shamima. You can become a Mises bride.
There's the bride for you.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So
I need some morality police in my life.
It's the passport offer there, I suppose. So Good Morning Britain did a segment on this in which they apparently interviewed her in a camp in the morning. Which I find weird. So they say, could you imagine? Oh, God. But I just had in my mind, like, could you imagine whoever's in this camp, like, just get some audio recording of how she really feels, like how much the papers would pay for that. But anyway, let's move on from this. So you mentioned the argument which the Mirror mentioned, which is Shamima Begum was groomed and abused like victims in Rotherham, Telford and Rochdale, says a Mirror journo. And thing that comes to mind, could we talk about the link between those two stories? Telford, Rotherham, Islamic State? Could we talk about the ideological link between any of them? How both groups have views on sex slaves, how those Quranic passages influence that sort of thing, how in terms of what your right hand possesses. But no, I suppose not. But the idea that she is the same as those groomed in the grooming gang scandals, because, you know, there's like 50 or something now, actually, counting up. I'm not convinced. I assume you have an argument on this because you mentioned it.
Well, I mean, it's not the same, but it's also bad. And it's grooming by the and I think in the West we've got to have an open discussion and we've got to have, be able to speak about it when people challenged. I mean the way the authorities and society treated the grooming gang allegations when they first came out, the way they swept it under the carpet, the way they still sweep it under the carpet. Like the first social workers to come forward and say, like, you know, we've got a problem with this. The first one who sent on diversity training. Yes. And demoted. You know, it's disgusting the way they covered it up, because obviously the Labour establishment in the north, they were reliant on the Muslim bloc vote. 85% of British voting Muslims voted for Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party. The Muslim vote replaced, the sort of the white working class vote in some post-industrial
I'm trying to remember
towns.
the name of the Labour MP who brought this up. Not Sarah Champion, there was one other, but they're the ones who sort of tried to blow the whistle within the party, let's say.
Yeah.
They paid the price.
Yeah.
I'm running out of time, so I'm going to hurry up actually on this. So the next thing to mention is, of course, the citizenship debate. So there's someone here saying that the citizenship is wrong to take away. So Savage Javid says, no, not having it back. And this lady's whining about conditional citizenship, saying that you shouldn't have conditional citizenship if you've got dual citizenship. So the argument being that she has access to Bangladeshi and British, and therefore we can get rid of one, and it doesn't leave her stateless. And the argument here is saying that, I mean, what's the wording there? If you are a British citizen who has links to foreign descendants through your parents, no. Like, this is about her links to terrorist groups. And should your citizenship be dependent on that? And there's
we don't automatically, if somebody's linked to the IRA, they don't automatically lose their Irish citizenship or whatever.
Well, if they had British and Irish, and they were in England.
Can she go and live in Bangladesh?
So that's the argument here. But if you were a foreigner, I mean, you would get deported and your citizenship taken away. That would be the right thing to do. Like with the grooming gangs, actually, because there were the guys who are Pakistani and British.
Yeah.
They lost their British citizenship and should have been deported.
Yeah.
And they still haven't. Thanks, Home Office. So if we go forward with this, her own father had an opinion on her citizenship debate, which is he supports getting rid of it.
I'm starting to see the root of this problem.
So
this is bad parenting.
His father had a statement.
She just needed father figures in her life, and ISIS provided that. She's basically the equivalent of a stripper, or or the women I date. This is yet another terrible father.
Yeah, so he had the opinion
problems.
that we should get rid of her citizenship, which I thought was funny, but we'll move on from that. There was the point made about her. If we go to the next one, we have someone, I think it was Carl's wife, made the point about her, her new nightcap, and her hair got highlighted. You're just like, where did you get that done? In the refugee camp? Just a question.
That's a good point.
Presumably her, PR manager is taking care of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on. So the Bangladeshi government has a position on this, which is that they don't care. Ooh. So Bangladeshi government's position is a quote, "She has never sought Bangladeshi citizenship and her parents are also British citizens," the Bangladeshi minister told the BBC. It's a bit of a non sequitur because the question is she entitled to Bangladeshi citizenship? The Bangladeshi minister gave a quote. He added that if she did end up coming to Bangladesh, she would fall foul of the country's zero tolerance policy towards terrorism. Bangladeshi law is very clear. Terrorists will have to face a death penalty, he said. Yeah, okay. That's Bangladesh's position, which is she may have access to citizenship. If she ever comes here, we'll kill her for being a terrorist.
Yeah. I mean, it makes the Tories' position on it seem quite liberal by comparison. You know what I mean? Like Sajid doesn't say, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're going to kill her."
But I mean, there is a simple solution, which is you could just reinstate the death penalty for terrorists in the UK, and then problem solved. But
well, no, then problem stored up because think of the amount of wrongful convictions we'd have.
You think about that, I want to give you a counterexample. So let's go to the last one here, which is just to mention that we already have the death sentence in the UK. We have death by prison instead. So this is the case of the Reading stabber. So Sahala pleaded guilty to his crimes, but denied his terrorist motive. The judge rejected this and handed him a whole life order, meaning he will never be released from prison.
Yep.
Previously, only one of those who killed Lee Rigby and a man who'd murdered Joe Cox have received whole life orders from judges for murders motivated by ideology in the UK. So this is people who will never leave prison because they are going to commit terrorism again. So we'll just leave them in prison until they die.
Right, yeah.
So there's the argument of
But then it's not as bad as probably got a PlayStation. I mean, it won't be a PlayStation 5, but you got a PlayStation 4.
But why not kill them?
Because they could be in it. I don't know if how much do you trust the government? How much do you trust the authorities and all the bureaucracy that runs everything to get everything right? I haven't seen them get many things right. Never mind.
Do you support them getting the whole life order, then I wonder?
Yeah, because that's reversible.
Right.
If evidence comes to light, which it has done, there's been many cases of people being wrongfully imprisoned, wrongfully executed.
I don't disagree, but the thing here is to get a whole life order, the standard of evidence is so high, it's sort of ridiculous. So the Reading stabber, for example, they caught him in the act. He'd murdered multiple people. He said he did it. There's video evidence of him doing it. All the rest of it. It's ridiculous to say that he didn't. Or the killer of Lee Rigby, where they caught him in the act, they arrested him, he admitted he did it, said it on video that he did it. The killer of Joe Cox admitted he did it, caught in the act.
Yeah.
You know.
So let them
Fine.
rot in jail.
We know for 100% certainty they're the ones who did it. There is no evidence going to come out to say they didn't.
Let them rot in jail. And then keeping them in jail is actually cheaper than killing them, because there's so many expensive legal processes and appeals that go through. And also, I don't want to be, one of the things I like about Britain is we're not this really harsh, retributive, punitive country that, barbaric, with prehistoric. We don't throw people off buildings. We don't crush them with rocks.
No, I wasn't planning on that. I was going to go back to the British tradition of being hung by the neck. But
anyway. We don't hang people by the neck either.
Oh, that's our tradition. We wouldn't do shooting up against the wall. We'd hang people by the neck.
Yeah. I don't like hanging people by the neck either.
Okay. Well, for those people, I would say I would do it. But anyway, that's my opinion. That's yours. If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go over to lotuseaters.com to subscribe to get access to all the premium content we have.
The way the site works is that you have bronze, silver and gold tier subscriptions. The bronze being £5 a month and allows you to get access to all of the premium content and leave comments on the articles. And we've got a new feature for the silver tier, and the silver and gold tier, which is having all of the premium articles accompanied by an audio track of a very smooth British voice reading, as you can see on the screen there. It's only an 11-minute listen, or it's however long it takes you to read the article. So that's for convenience. So that's for gold and silver members. And we've also got all of our regular great content, which we're all really proud of. I mean, the premium podcast we have here is Progressing to Destruction, where that's just a lot of work where it went into examining exactly what the consequences of mass immigration have been in Britain. And this was a great deal of effort to put together, and we didn't really want it being taken down from YouTube or anywhere else, so we're hosting it on our site, and we're very pleased with, what is, I suppose, a bit of a negative response, but not because of anything we've done, but because of the facts of the matter, it seems. But we also do various other premium podcasts, like The Contemplations, such as Are There Human Rights? Well, it depends on whose definition of what a human right you are using is. And of course, we do our regular history podcast called Epochs. This week's was The Sea People, the Terror of the Bronze Age. I really enjoyed doing this one because there was a great collapse about 3,000 years ago of the entire economy of the Eastern Mediterranean, and it seems that a bunch of piratical raiders may have been partially responsible for that, and possibly inspired the Trojan cycle from Homer. So we discussed that in that. And of course, we do our book club. For some reason, I decided that we'd highlight the George Orwell ones that we've been doing. So we've got his Road to Wigan Pier, and of course, the classic 1984. And I'll probably do Shooting an Elephant next. Have you ever read that?
Not heard of it.
It's really interesting. It's about George Orwell's time as a colonial administrator and police officer in Burma. And at one point in his narrative, an elephant goes on the rampage in a village and is killing people and destroying houses. So he has to go down and shoot it. And it is an absolutely fascinating look at the sort of colonial dynamics. The reason I haven't done a book club this month so far is because I'm currently going through the Critical Race Theory Bible. As you can see, it's 500 pages long, and I'm about 2/3 of the way through. And there are going to be many very in-depth book clubs coming out of that, because the things they believe are crazy and conservatives need to know about them.
Last thing to mention, of course, is if you'd like to see us live, you can come to our live events. So the one we have coming up, I think Saturday is sold out, but Friday still has tickets if you'd like to come. So we're going to have Andrew Lawrence down as the secret guest for that one, to be the comedian.
Not so secret now.
Not so secret now. And Count Dankula, Carl, and I'll be giving a secret speech about a topic I don't want to ruin now. Yeah. But that's that. But anyway, if you'd like access to all that premium content, please go over to lotuseaters.com, subscribe. Thank you.